Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to this episode of The Invisible Critic. I am your host, The Invisible Critic, and this is the sub-series, The Forbidden History of the Globalist Conspiracy. We're going to get right into it. The year is 1776, a big year in history. Now, when you guys hear that year, 1776, probably the first thing that pops into your mind is this: the Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson, July 4th, 1776. And it sets forth the philosophical foundations for the American Revolution and why the colonies wanted to separate from Britain and so on. And that's why we celebrate the 4th of July. But there was another big event. It wasn't big at the time. Nobody knew about it because it was a freaking conspiracy. It was all down on the down low. But now, looking back in history, it was very significant. It was kind of the opposite of July 4th, 1776. That's May 1st. 1776, the founding of the Illuminati. And this was the founder. He was a German Jewish law professor named Adam Weishaupt. And the Illuminati was a secret society. And they used to have all these ceremonies, and they met in secret. And it was like big shot intellectuals and some wealthy people and even some aristocrats. And they were building a subversive movement for the purpose of tearing down all the governments and religions and the whole established order of Europe. And their idea was a one-world communal state that they would eventually build. And to that end, they began infiltrating the Freemasons. Okay? You heard of the Freemasons? Freemasonry, they're still around today. They're huge. A lot of big shots are Freemasons. Now, not all Freemasons were bad, or at least back then they weren't. I mean, George Washington was a Freemason, Ben Franklin, later on Andrew Jackson. But the Illuminati, they penetrated and then they corrupted it, or they used Freemasonry for their own ends because it already had a secretive, conspiratorial structure. So, the Freemasons are not the conspiracy. The Illuminati was, and then they used Freemasonry. And you can see Masonic images, Illuminati images, they're right in your face. I mean, here it is on the back of a dollar bill. The pyramid and the all-seeing eyeball. That's the logo of the New World Order. And it says right on the bottom, Novus Ordo Seclorum, Latin for New World Order of the Ages. Look at the logo for CBS, the all-seeing eyeball of the Illuminati. America Online, AOL, it's got the eyeball inside the pyramid. It's all over. And look at this nasty bitch, this hoe, this skank, Beyonce. There she is at the Super Bowl doing a pyramid hand sign. And look at all these celebrities. They all do the one-eye symbolism. Okay? Illuminati, one-worlders, it's big in Hollywood and the entertainment industry. They use celebrities to corrupt the people. So these guys, they're all into this stuff. There's Jay-Z, this degenerate drug dealer, the husband of Beyonce. Here he is doing a pyramid sign with his hands. So, Illuminati, it existed from 1776 to 1785 until this guy, okay, the Duke of Bavaria, he busted him up. And at that time, they had over 3,000 members, okay? But these weren't just ordinary people. These were big shot guys. There was a lot of influence. And he broke them up. Now, establishment historians, they don't deny the Illuminati. Of course they know it exists. What they say is after that it was disbanded, it never reformed again. And any such talk is conspiracy theory. Okay, but it's nonsense. Now, here's a book, I'm going to link it down below, written by a French monk, the Abbe Barruel. Okay? And it's called Memoirs of the Illuminati. And I mean, he establishes how even after the Illuminati were broken up, they later reconstituted and they formed the foundation of the French Revolution later on, which began in 1789 because Illuminati was international. John Robison is another one. Okay, he was a Scottish physicist, the co-inventor of the siren. He was a philosopher, big shot intellectual guy. He writes proofs of a conspiracy. I'll link that down below too. And he explains how the Illuminati operate. They try to recruit them and they sell all these suckers, intellectuals on this pie in the sky. They're going to build this utopia. And the new people coming in, they don't know the big picture necessarily, but they have 13 degrees, and they suck you in. And when you get to the top degrees, they know the big picture. They want a one-world slave system. New World Order. They were the original communists. Again, they're founded on May 1st, which is why the communists and the anarchists celebrate May Day to this day. Here's a more contemporary writer, Nesta Webster. She wrote Secret Societies and Subversive Movements. I'll link it for you below as your homework assignment. All right? And she clearly establishes that this Illuminati flowed into the French Revolution, which was a left-wing Bolshevik revolution, not to be confused with the American Revolution. Now, these are the American founders, George Washington, Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, okay? Their revolution was completely different. These were godly men. I mean, they were deists, but they believed in God, and they believed in God's natural law, and they wanted an absolute minimum of government. The only thing that the American Revolution and the French Revolution had in common is they were anti-monarchy. But the American system was to establish limited government and freedom, and the system that came out of the Illuminati French Revolution was a Bolshevik, murderous, bloody, oppressive system. So do not confuse the American Revolution, which came out of 1776, Declaration of Independence, and the French Revolution, which came out of the Illuminati. This son of a bitch right here, Maximilien Robespierre, okay? He was one of the top Jacobins in France. They were the early Bolsheviks, okay? And they were behind. They were the leaders of the bloody French Revolution. And when they came to power, they started murdering and cutting people's heads off left and right. At least 50,000 murdered by the guillotine. Noblemen, priests, monks, big business owners, anyone loyal to the old regime. 50,000 dead, minimum. 300,000 thrown into prison, which was about 2% of the population of France. It was the reign of terror. Look it up, 1793 to 1794. This is the storming of the Bastille that happened during the French Revolution. Again, fake history portrays it as they were freeing the prisoners of the tyrannical king. That's bullshit. They went in there to steal the weapons. Look at this poor woman, Marie Antoinette, the queen. They hold her off. They cut her head off. They put her under the guillotine. And then you have this mob of, these would be the libtards of the day, screaming for blood. And the Illuminati, Jacobins, they put out all this propaganda. They said that Marie Antoinette said, let them eat cake, meaning the poor people. She never said that. They made it up. It was fake news, even back then. And look at today. They celebrate this horrible French Revolution. There's that French faggot, Emmanuel Macron, who just burned down the Notre Dame Cathedral. And they're celebrating Bastille Day. But there ain't nothing to celebrate about the French Revolution. It was horrible. It was the complete antithesis of the American Revolution. It was a left-wing revolution, whereas the American Revolution was a right-wing revolution. Now I'm going to fast forward a couple hundred years. You see this? That's One World Trade Center. After these globalist one-worlders, Illuminati, after they blew up the Twin Towers on 9/11, they erected One World Trade Center. That's not the address. That's the name. One World. You get it? But here's the scam they pulled. Originally, they said they were going to call it the Freedom Tower, and it was supposed to be 1,776 feet tall. That was the bait, but then they pulled the bait and switch. They never called it the Freedom Tower. It's One World, and it's got pyramids built right into it, up and down. And it's 1,776 feet. It's commemorating the founding of the Illuminati, not the Declaration of Independence. There it is, right there in your face. So that is a critical distinction, and as we move forward in history, we're going to see these two separate movements in conflict with each other. The American movement and the Illuminati One World tyrannical movement. So now you know. That concludes this episode of The Invisible Critic. Make sure you subscribe and share this video, and check out all the links below. Thanks for stopping by.